There it is. There it is. It says it started. It must have started. Hey, everybody. This is Harris Fellman. Welcome to Tellman and Fellman. It's me, Harris, and it's
me, Tellman. And we are here with one of the living legends of marketing.
Marlon, I'm broadcasting live from AOL, folks. Prodigy.
He's at AOL offices.
I'm sorry, Tellman. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
I know that's probably very unusual for you. You know who I've been talking to a lot lately, Marlon, is Jonathan Mizell. We've been working on a project together, and your name keeps coming up. So I'm really, really happy to have you here.
You know who else his name keeps coming up with? I hear ChatGPT knows a lot about him, Talman.
I have a little experiment I'd like to do. May I, Marlon?
Sure, go ahead, dog.
Okay, so I decided, you've been in the game like longer than I've been alive, and I maybe close to it. I don't know. We'll find out your real history here in a few minutes, but I did ask ChatGPT to write an over-the-top, eccentric biography for you for this. I want to read it, and at the end, I'd like you to share how accurate you feel it was or wasn't, right? And so this will be really interesting and a good exercise for everyone that's using AI to write copy, right? So, are you ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay, meet Marlon Sanders, the unstoppable marketing maverick. Marlon Sanders is a name that resonates with power, creativity, and innovation in the world of marketing. A true maverick. Marlon's journey from a curious young mind to a legendary figure in the marketing industry is nothing short of extraordinary. From the earliest days of his life, it was clear that Marlon was destined for something remarkable. While other children were busy with toys and games, Marlon was already mastering the art of persuasion. His first venture into the world of sales came at an age when most kids were still learning to tie their shoes. Instead of the typical lemonade stand, Marlon created a full-fledged marketing campaign that drew crowds from blocks away. His natural ability to connect with people and understand their desires was evident then, and it set the stage for a career that would redefine the marketing landscape. As he grew older, Marlon's talents only sharpened. He didn't just study marketing, he lived it, breathed it, and eventually mastered it in ways that few could imagine. His approach was never about following trends. Instead, he created them. Marlon's campaigns became known for their out-of-the-box thinking, their ability to captivate audiences, and their almost magical way of turning skeptics into loyal customers. But what truly sets Marlon apart is his eccentricity. In a world where conformity often reigns, Marlon dares to be different. He's the kind of person who can turn a mundane topic into an electrifying conversation about conversion rates, psychological triggers, and customer journeys. His enthusiasm is contagious, his energy boundless, and his results, well, they speak for themselves. Marlon's impact on the marketing world is profound. He's written sales letters so compelling that they've become legendary. People have been known to drop everything and take action after reading just a few lines of his copy. He devised strategies that not only drive traffic, but convert it at rates that leave competitors scratching their heads in disbelief. His webinars are not just informative, but transformative, leaving attendees inspired and ready to take on the world. Beyond his professional achievements, Marlon is a true character. His signature style, often reflected in his bold fashion choices and his larger-than-life personality, is impossible to miss. Whether he's donning a suit covered in dollar signs or delivering a speech with the flair of a showman, Marlon knows how to make an impression. But beyond the flash and the fun, Marlon is a man with a mission. He's not just in the business of making money. He's in the business of making a difference. Marlon's passion for helping others succeed is at the core of everything he does. He's mentored countless aspiring marketers, sharing his wealth of knowledge and experience with those eager to learn. He's a firm believer in the power of education, and his training programs have empowered people from all walks of life to take control of their financial futures. Marlon's influence extends far beyond the confines of traditional marketing. He's a thought leader, a visionary, and a pioneer in the digital space. His insights have shaped the way businesses operate online, and his strategies have become the gold standard for success in the digital age. Whether through his courses, books, or live events, Marlon has touched the lives of thousands, if not millions of people around the world. Yet, despite all of his success, Marlon remains grounded. He's known for his humility and his willingness to connect with people on a personal level. He's not one to rest on his laurels. Instead, he's always looking for the next challenge, the next opportunity to innovate, and the next way to make an impact. Marlon Sanders is more than just a marketer. He's a force of nature. His journey from a young entrepreneur with big dreams in an industry to an industry titan is a testament of his relentless drive, his boundless creativity, and his unwavering commitment to excellence. In a world that's constantly changing, Marlon Sanders is the constant, a beacon of innovation, inspiration, and unparalleled success. As the marketing world continues to evolve, one thing is certain: Marlon Sanders will be at the forefront, leading the charge and setting the standard for generations to come.
I think I need to print that out and give it to my wife, is the thing. Be like,
So that's
babe,
all we
read
have
this.
time for today, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us, Marlon Sanders. We really appreciate it.
Was that an intro or was that a book that you told it to write? Tell me.
Oh my God.
I think that was a book.
Happens. ChatGPT. It should be called Chatty GPT.
I limited it. Because when I was making the post for today's show, I wanted to try having a more robust title and description of today's episode, and so I was limited to 5,000 characters by most of the social channels that StreamYard pushes to. So I said, write it in 5,000 characters or less. And it gave me 4,700 and some odd characters, and that's how long it was. So that's what I used for the description of today's show.
I see. Well, next time ask for 200 characters or 200,
no crap.
100 words or less, and it'll be good. I mean, that is not an intro. I mean, it was great. It was an amazing tale.
Like we just lost all the viewing audience is the thing. They're like, this has got to be the longest. Nobody's listening now. They're like, that's got to be the longest intro I've ever heard in my life.
So good.
Was any of it true? Was any of it? What
percentage of it?
Lemonade stand?
Yeah, what percentage was it accurate?
I don't have a jacket with dollar signs. I did do marketing when I was the biggest crowd I spoke to when I was young was a Boy Scout troop I did magic for when I was horribly unprepared. Why they ever? I mean, I did kids. I was used to doing kids magic shows with like 10 kids there. And they had me come to do, I had no idea. I'm like a kid. I don't know. I'm in the 7th grade. They had me come to a Boy Scout troop of like 400 people. And I've got magic designed for a birthday party of 10 kids, you know. I mean, I did it. I didn't know. I had no freaking idea what I was doing. But anyway, yeah, you know, it's some of it's true. Some of it. I mean, my wife would probably, I don't have the exotic dress things now that I'm married because my wife is like, that looks stupid. Don't wear that. So, she likes more demure, you know. So no, it's yeah, I don't know, Tillman. Hey, let's get into some content, guys, before we lose our audience.
So check it out. So Marlon, what year do you feel that you first like became a marketer or like really started studying this stuff? Like how far back does this go for you?
Well, so the magic shows I did in the 7th grade, I wrote an ad for it, and the ad rang the phone off the hook, to be honest, but it drove my mom crazy. It was really a dumb classified ad. It said, magic is my thing. I do it for birthday parties. And that was about it, and a phone number. And our phone, we did 3 up. I did magic shows 3 up on Saturdays. But other than that, most of all the early on stuff I tried failed horribly in marketing. Like my early on sales letters and all of that stuff in like say 1990 AOL days, 80, whatever that was, 91, 92. Jonathan was very successful on AOL selling stuff. My stuff all flopped on AOL because my sales letters weren't very good. And I would print out sales letters on a dot matrix printer, send them out, and they would flop horribly, you know.
How could you put something? You could put something up on AOL.
Oh man, AOL rocked. It did. Like, no, Sheila Danzig made like 30 million off of AOL classified ads selling resale PLR package. Is what she said. I mean, we don't have proof of it, but Michael Enlow was huge on there, and Mizell did great. Mizell was big on AOL. So you could put in free AOL classified ads, and the whole secret was Mizell knew the time. It was like if you place your ad at such and so time, you'd be at the top of the ads. Right. But I mean, AOL was huge then. You had a lot of viewership of those free classified ads and a lot of response. So the big trick, let me share with you all the big trick. So if you ever try this, you'll know the trick. The big trick that would double your response, double your conversions, was when you replied, they would ask for info and you would email them back. The autoresponders didn't exist, so you did it by hand. But if you use their name when you emailed them back, you doubled response. True story.
Wow.
Just use their name. And but my serious success I had the first success I had writing a sales letter. I had a retail store that I was manager of, and the guy sold me for $1 so he could take the loss, and I had no clue he was losing money or hardly what that meant. So I had this retail store on Mockingbird Lane in Dallas, Texas, selling success sells and motivation books and tapes, And but I had a friend and he did NLP. Brett Baggett, his brother is Bart Baggett. If you happen to know Bart. Yeah. And so Brett was his brother, and so Brett did NLP workshop. So I wrote this sales letter for an NLP workshop. It's $27, and we sold like 40 or 50 of them. It did really well, and it was after that I ran a little classified ad on how I could triple direct mail response. I had no idea. Something Jay Abraham said that if you did endorse mail, you could triple response. So I ran this in an ad in the Business Journal. 3 people responded. I felt like it was a failure, but one of them was Phil Kratzer, who hung out all the time with Gary Halbert and spoke at Big Guru seminars back then. And I went in and I wrote for him for free for a week. I wrote a whole entire catalog for him basically in 1 week because I was really fast. I may have not been the best writer, but dang it, I was fast. And anyway, he hired me. And that's when I met Mizell, and I read Bob Serling book on copywriting that changed my life, and blah, blah, blah. And I met my mentor, Lou Williams, who was trained in copywriting by Thomas Hall back in the old days.
And so when you really started meeting smart, experienced marketers.
Yeah, that was in about 1994.
Yeah, so I graduated high school in 95, right? So yeah, cool. And so for you, like Marlon, having been in internet marketing since the AOL days,
before the web,
and before the web, just doing ads, like trying stuff in direct mail. If you go back to your 7th grade, that's a lot of.
This is what I studied when I was starting out. There's a dude named Dean Dax Duvall. And the dude was in the inner circle of mail order, and the dude was freaking huge. This here mail order matrix, I bought it. It sold for $1,000. This was his thing for mail order programs that sold for $1,000 each. He had a newsletter he sold for $3. This was his booklet for his affiliate program where you could prepay credits for his books and basically promote them as an affiliate. This was his newsletter. This was his book on self-publishing. And yeah, I had a lot of stuff by him. And so he was huge back then, and I studied him. And that was like that was probably 1978 to 80, but none of that stuff worked.
Okay.
I mean, like,
So
I learned it, but I didn't.
Marketing. Yeah. So you were, I mean, I was born in 77. So you literally have been studying marketing.
Yeah, I was studying it in 70. In 78, I bought Benjamin Suarez's book, Get Rich Quick book, and it turned me on to Gary Halbert and all of this stuff. But I was horrible. I was just terrible at writing copy and doing it all until I don't know. I just kept trying, and somehow I learned. There was nothing to learn from. Like, you had a Dan Kennedy book, and tested advertising methods, and Claude Hopkins. That was about it.
Right.
You just learned by trial and error.
But isn't that what?
But I was when I was a writer then for National Response Corporation. That's when I met Jonathan Mizell, and I helped them sell his product. I got Phil to sell John's product. And then he got a call for somebody wanting to do seminars. And he's like, "Hey, Sanders, you want to go speak at a gig? They're paying us $1,000. I'm like, "Yes, I'll be there." We did 120 seminars after that, as you know. So
yeah, so so then you were in the seminar business. So, I mean, Harris, I have all sorts of questions I want to ask Marlon, but I also like want to pass the baton to you. Like which where do you want to take this?
No, I mean, I'm interested to know, I was just going to say, you say it was just trial and error, but then thanks to the internet, that made the trial and error easier because you could do split tests. Like, do you not mess with that? Like, is that something that you took advantage of? Was there a time that you went from, I mean, I know you're saying, okay, you sucked at it. I don't think I'm that great, but stuff seems to convert. I think I'm creative enough, and I tell a little bit of a story, but I don't really go overboard on the story. I'm pretty just straightforward. Like, this is what it is. This is what I got. Do you want it? For the most part. But then I do split. I do think I do split test and stuff like that. And you're just prolific as hell too. I mean, you've got a lot of products out there, and I mean, I think
I just launched a new one yesterday.
What is it?
Freaking awesome. It's actually based on all the old time from stuff from the early 1900s, how they going back to Mesmer, going from Mesmer through Phineas Quimby, through Mary Baker Eddy, through then going up to when they sold Hudson cars in the early 1900s. They all use the same 7 methods. I call it the Magic 7.
Ooh, I want to read this.
I document it with all of these old articles and stuff about how they sold the Hudson cars. Like right here in San Antonio, there was a Hudson car distributor. It was the premium car of the early 1900s. Like, it was the number 3 selling car, but number 1 and 2 were like Ford and Chevy, and they were cheap cars. The Hudson was like the expensive car. And they had all of these dramatic demonstrations where they would drive it up hills. They would have races with other cars to whip them. They would do all this stuff, which coincidentally, Elon Musk is doing all the same things with his Cybertruck. Right. Every day on X, he publishes videos of dramatic demonstrations, driving through rivers, hauling a Porsche behind it, and then beating a Porsche in a race whilst hauling a Porsche. Hauling he does all the same things that they did back then. So it's a fascinating stuff. So yeah, I do a lot of products. I'm really great at the front end, Harris and Tellman. But what I have area and room for improvement is selling the bigger tickets, because I'm a writer and I don't like the phone sales, But I'll say this, it's crazy. Look at this. These were I was showing you this, but these were $1,000 products he sold through distributors, and he would have this booklet and the distributors could use it. But he sold the crap out of $1,000 products just using direct mail back then, right? And art. He painted all these paintings and did an affiliate program to resell his art, where you would prepay for $1,000 for paintings, and you could resell them for higher profit. This? His name was Dean Dax Duval, and he was huge back then. He ran full page ads in all the BizOp magazines and stuff. He was like the big guy back in the inner circle of mail order days. He was like the number 1 dude.
That's awesome.
Crazy stuff, man. I'm telling you. Anyway, you were starting to say something, Harris.
Well, no. So you got direct response, and I don't think I do. I don't know. You're like an ADHD person's dream right now. You're like, oh look, I got this over here. And like I just so happen to have something from 1977 right here. Let me pull that up for you.
Right.
So I want to try to get something that people can can get from.
Yeah, we got a question here we got a question about how can you get started as a beginner? How can he succeed? You know,
this guy Matthew Ike, he just reached out to me and I said, well, come on this live stream and I'll ask you a question for you. He just reached out to me without knowing there was a live stream. And I said, if he can figure out how to get on it, maybe maybe he can learn something. But yeah, that's a question that we always have, which is,
how to get started, right?
How to get started. Yeah. How to get started. But you've got direct response marketing in your blood from what you're, literally.
Yeah, the answer to your question about sales copy is I was horrible for 10 years and I was humiliated unbelievably. So I tried to get a job copywriting in Dallas, Texas. I go to the Richards advertising agency, I think it was called, and I go in and I show them my portfolio of direct response stuff. And the ladies, in my interpretation, was rude. Right. And I'm leaving and I'm like, what did you expect? And she points to this fancy giant ad that would be like a David Ogilvy type ad on the wall. And she's like, that. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I don't do that.
Right.
I do.
Well,
I do long copy.
Screw you, lady.
Right. And so, no, you didn't have training back then. So it was horribly painful to learn to write. Today, it's amazing, Harrison Tillman, how fast people learn today to do phone sales, to write copy, produce products. It's like at the speed of light. Right. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Marlon, I mean, you've seen the rise and fall of, I believe you've seen, I assume, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that you've seen the rise and fall of marketing mediums being able to be used successfully over many different decades at this point, whether it's direct mail, whether it's telemarketing, whether it's direct radio ads, whether it's internet marketing, whether it's email, whether it's forums, whether it's, and then obviously list building and email marketing got up to a certain bubble where everybody was just printing money for many years. And then all of a sudden, things started getting more difficult in the last, 5 to 7 years. Things have changed. Webinars, Well,
it's fun. Well, let's stop there, Tillman. It's more difficult for old timers like us. For the new people, they're still printing money. And the reason is because we're stuck in old paradigms and they're like entering in on an agency business, selling $10,000 and $20,000 contracts on recurring. And they're like, this is awesome. I'm 21 years old and I'm a millionaire. And we're not in, and we're like, to some degree, stuck in older paradigms because the way if you study psychology and how the brain works, the way you enter something, really the way the brain works, it gets imprinted there.
Right.
And it's very hard to break out of that.
You have beliefs that are formed about how the world is, right? Or how marketing works, or whatever it is that the subject, this is right.
I mean, these kids that come in, they can't produce an info product, a lot of them, but by golly, they can run a Facebook ad and phone close someone.
Right. That's interesting.
They're like, I'm glad you're making sales of your ebook, but I just closed a $10,000 a month, agency client.
And and they have no idea what they're doing. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah. It's a very interesting world right now. Well, what do you see?
Those things, but they're still using, direct response, whether they know it or not. That's what ultimately Facebook is doing. Some of that split testing for them, of course, but ultimately they're putting up a bunch of ads and it is literally direct response. Click this ad.
Well, I mean, the fundamentals of direct. The fundamentals are, number one, you measure stuff. Yes, they measure. Number two, you have hand raisers. So out of this big body of people, you can follow up with the people who are most interested. Yes, they have people either message them or they have them respond in some form. And then they have follow up, right? You have follow up, whether that's by email or whatever. You have a value proposition and an offer. And so, yes, they do all the basics of direct response. It's just very focused on an industry and a specific thing, you know. And if they ever had to leave, like let's say the agency business fell apart, they would flounder because they don't have a bigger picture.
Right.
All they know is that one specific thing.
Right.
You know, they don't have a broader understanding of direct response, but they do it.
So what do you see? What do you see as like the principles? I realize that, yeah, we all came in at a certain point at a certain time and learned certain things and built beliefs and thought patterns around these things. Yet having decades of experience, like you have the ability to, you have the experience of seeing patterns over a much longer period of time than a lot of folks that might just be getting into this now or even just in the last 10 years. And so what do you see as like immediately useful and applicable as new entrepreneurs are entering the scene and either building brand new businesses for the first time or revitalizing and reviving their businesses? Where should entrepreneurs be focused in their marketing and business growth efforts from your perspective? Just having the long view.
All right. I'm going to see. Yeah, give me 1 second here and I'll see. Okay. Let's see if you see that.
Are you sharing your screen on purpose?
All right. Let me bring it up here on the screen and I'll just see if I can pull up
the landscape.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it.
One of these. Pulling up one of the ads. So do you see this?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Hold on.
So this was, you know, from.
We'll get there.
I'll pull up a couple of these.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, I think we had it where it was just.
Yeah, we had it. I'm getting there. Okay, we're good, Marlon. Go for it.
All right. So this is early 1900s. You know, today, Harrison Tillman, you talk about ADD, you know, you can't get someone to read a 50-page magazine. You want to know how long the magazines were back then? Like this System was the #1 business magazine that later became Business Week. In the early 1900s, you want to know how many pages it had?
150?
Somewhere between 750 to 1,000.
Woo!
Did it come out every year?
Every month.
Wow.
Every month, dog. And so
who wrote it? ChatGPT? I call back.
Well, I
mean, the articles were handwritten by very prolific writers, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
And a small staff. Like it wasn't like some massive, huge, gigantic staff. It was it's like 3 guys that wrote all the articles, you know. So and outsources or whatever you would call freelancers. So anyway, this is an ad here. 2 brains are better than 1. Will you accept a second brain if we send it free? They're so here, like I'm thinking I need to respond to this.
Right.
I could use a second brain. Here at last is a set of books devoted to little things of business, to the tiny nuisances and problems in the day's work that upset the mind and the bank account, blah, 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 blah. So you can get it on trial. Now, let me go to another one, and let's see if we can get one here. Okay, so this is one for some equipment. I'll get it up here. Do you see that okay?
Yeah, we see it okay. I'm gonna try actually making this even bigger.
There
we go.
There we go. So free. Notice how big the word free is.
Yeah.
Try the Fox copy holder 10 days at our expense. And it's some kind of a machine that holds copy. So this is like a typewriter, the old school typewriter they used back then. And then this would hold the copy right here, I guess. Yeah. Give the best stenographer in your employ to try it for 10 days and then see whether she's willing to give it up. Observe for yourself how much of her time it saves, how it saves eye strain and temper. It increases her efficiency, blah, blah. Anyway, so you can get this one on a free trial offer and you just send in the coupon, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's look at one more here. They did a lot of business. Okay, so here's another one. Let's see if I can make it full size here. Hold on. If I can bring it up. Why is it not coming up?
Lower right-hand corner.
Guess it's, well, that, oh, I'm probably clicking on the wrong. Let's just do this one. What the heck?
Marlon,
Okay.
try
Somehow I'm doing something wrong, but I'll do it like this.
Try your lower nav. I see all those like blue pens.
Oh, you're right. I'm an idiot. Okay. So trial balance test the bookkeeper. Increase your salary. The calculator with automatic resetting device, right? Write today using your business stationery for an illustrated catalog and a machine on trial. Now, I don't know what a calculator is, but how many hours a week, how many days a month do you spend in hunting for errors in addition? Okay, so but this was, so what I'm saying is they offered free booklets, they offered free catalogs, and they offered a lot of stuff where they would ship it out on trial.
Right.
Now, you say, Marlon, what are the commonalities in direct response? And so they ran ads that would get people to request a trial, request a booklet, request a sample. And then what they would do is follow up with direct mail letters. The really big people would have 10 to 12 stenographers that would personally write letters to the responses. They had teams of stenographers, right? They had about 30 to 50,000 index cards in giant catalog files that were their database, and they would mail these letters to them, and form letters but they would merge their name onto the letters and print them out, right? And then they used this thing called the addressograph to address the letters and mail the Sons of Guns out. That was their follow-up. And then they would have salespeople out in the field who would follow up with them. So what's the commonality here? They run the ad. They target the prospect in magazines and newspapers. And sometimes sending them direct mail. They would get them to raise their hand, request the trial, request the free booklet, request the catalog. They would follow up with direct mail letters that were incredible letters. They were such better writers of the day. And then they would also send salespeople out in the field to follow up. Now, my dad hated salespeople. It's ironic I'm in sales and marketing because he just hated salespeople. But the reason my dad made a lot of money and changed his life in somewhere around the Great Depression days was because he responded to an ad for a course on how to learn electronics in 3 years when TVs had just come on the screen, the little teeny tiny black and white ones. He took the course, home study course, for 3 years while working 12 hours a day as a carpenter. Did it in his spare time. The third year he graduated, he was one of only 3 people in the nation that graduated. He fixed TVs for all his friends for free, but he wrote every one of them an invoice thing, right? And then later he started charging, but he had them in this giant cardboard box. They moved to Oklahoma City from Enid, Oklahoma, and he wants to get a job wiring airplanes at Tinker Air Force Base so we could have a steady government job during really, really, really tough and difficult and hard times. Well, they wouldn't hire him. So every week he would go back and apply. And every week for 6 months, he went back and applied. They turned him down every week for 6 months. Finally, he said, "Why won't you hire me? Why won't you hire me? Sir, we cannot accept servicing TVs, as your work experience." He comes back the next week. He's got that gigantic box of receipts from fixing all the TVs filled with hundreds of them, sets it on her desk and goes, "There's the proof." He was hired.
Cool.
I would hope.
And so my point is, he responded to an ad, a salesperson in person followed up. I'm sure I never asked him, but I'm sure a salesperson followed up in person, sold him the correspondence course that changed his life, but yet he hated salespeople. And so this is, to me, direct response. You have hand raisers and you have follow-up, whether it's letters, whether it's emails, whether it's Loom videos, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a salesperson one-on-one. But you're measuring stuff that whole time, obviously, and you know your cost per lead, and you know all of those things, customer lifetime value, blah, blah. But that, to me, is the heart of direct response.
That's a really good answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
so let's go. Why don't we go back to a couple things? So we always like to ask, and you've covered this a lot. Like, what are some of the tenets, some of the stuff that you've taken with you all these years? We've kind of covered that, but what do you think? And I guess you've talked a little bit about what is different, like seeing the 20 somethings and 30 somethings right now. Their business model is a little different than ours, but that doesn't. What would you do if you were somebody entering today, or what would you say to somebody entering today? Like this message that we got from Matthew, like, and we're going to get that anytime we open up the floor to say, give us questions. The number one question we're always going to get is, what should I do to get started?
Well, Tellman just rolled his eyes.
Well, if you want to ask me, I mean, step one is build a list. So I'm actually going to give away a copy of my first list to anyone that asks a question on today's live stream. So I created the original edition, the 2004.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. That is such a great product.
Its principles are timeless. If you guys want to, and we want your questions, we really want your questions, whether you're just getting started or whether you're getting restarted or wherever you're at. If you want to build a list and you want to master some of these basic principles. So I would say, Marlon, like over the years, what I've realized, and I've screwed this up like big time in different ways, but I've also got it right in certain ways, is it's not even as simple to say to build that list and to follow up. It's actually, I think, more important is if you are planning on being in this for the long haul, if you're trying to start a business that's going to last 10 or more years, then it's critical to actually develop a real relationship with all of your customers and clients. And I know that I started internet marketing and exploring internet marketing to get away from having such deep emotional relationships and attachments to my hypnosis clients, because I was like taking on too much of their stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to sell hypnosis CDs on the internet so I don't have to deal with people. And what I've realized over the years is that, like, that's the only important thing, is actually having relationships and connections with people in the long term. And the better you are at that, the easier everything becomes with every progressive year. And the more you neglect that, the more difficult things get.
Well, it's interesting, Tellman, because I have a lot of arguments with people about this. I have a varying opinion, but everything you said, I believe, is true, but not true, and I'll explain. So the whole idea of having relationships with people did not come along until email. And the reason is because if we go to the standard rates and data book, giant book of mailing lists that are available, thousands and thousands and thousands of mailing lists still available, right? These letters are sent to these people, and because you're paying per page, and for first class you can only send not a lot, you don't have the same kind of relationship developed. And so but you have this continuity, and you have this friendliness, and you have the targeting of common problems. All of those things you have, but the whole idea of the relationship, which works, there's no doubt. It's not that it doesn't work, but it's like, I believe it's an add-on. But like, I'll give you an example. When they were selling Hudson cars in the early 1900s, the factory mailed them out form letters. The salespeople would reproduce the sales letters and just mail them to every prospect for a car in their city.
Right.
There was zero relationship, but what they did was they maintained the database, took bad names off of it, and they would follow up consistently with them. In other words, they kept sending them letters. They didn't send them one letter.
Right. Well, but that is the relationship. So consistent communication creates relationship.
Well,
if
yeah, I
you're
mean,
limited, you know, like
today, though, people feel relationship is like, oh, I got to share what's going on with my life. I got to tell them about me. I got to have a lot of self-reveals. And that stuff works, but I don't think it's necessary. Like, I don't do a lot of that because I've had stalkers before. If you've ever had,
I also had some stalker issues early on that like I had some people camping out in the parking lot across the street from my house, you know, like, and I had kids and stuff. It was just like,
why do you
guys think I moved? Why do you think I move country every few years? I mean, you know, I got to shake them. Go from Minnesota to California to Costa Rica to Barcelona to London now. They're never going to. Oh shit! Somebody's here. No.
I know,
anyway,
right?
By the way, I have a lot of experience on both sides of this, and before, I guess 2000 to 2004, I had an email marketing company, and we sent to literally 500 million people a month. Well, the same 70 million people every day.
Right. Right.
And, I definitely, that was not relationship building. That was a huge numbers game. And then I got into, what we call internet marketing. And actually the kind of bringing this whole podcast or interview full circle, I did a 12-week intensive with Merlin Holmes, which was a 12-week interview series. We would call it a virtual summit now, but it was on teleseminars. And I built a list of maybe 10,000 people. And those 10,000 people, were 100 times more responsive and made, not as much money as 70 million people, but comparably, it was 100 times more per person. I'd have to look at that to make sure. I'm not offering that up for the FCC to challenge me on it. I'm using that allegorically, but and I've gone back and forth quite a bit. Like right now,
any numbers mentioned are not indicative of average or typical results.
Right, your results will absolutely vary, but it's definitely an enhancer. It's 1,000. It's I agree.
Yeah, but I would say that's not the communication you sent. It was the source of the name to begin with. For example, my best customers all heard me speak on the road. They all heard me speak live and got on my list. And they're my best customers still to this day. And they heard me speak 20 years ago.
Right.
So and they've stopped 20 years.
I have the same experience, Marlon. I have people that I've met live that like are still buying everything. Every time I release something, they still buy it. Like I need to release things more often. But yeah.
Dan Kennedy was right about the importance of events. I don't do events for various reasons, but it's also a mistake because if you can do them, they're tough and they're expensive, right? I mean, it's a complex model to do events, but the people that meet you at events, they're at a whole different level than anyone else.
Not only that, but like we all met at events.
I still remember sitting around with you and Mizell. Remember we were having dinner. Do you remember that? Me, you, Mizell, and then a bunch of other people who I don't remember.
Where?
It was some city, a seminar, and that was when Mizell, because I didn't know you then. I really didn't know. I saw your stuff, but I didn't really know you personally.
Yeah, I was probably just like popping in into the scene at that point or something.
Well, Marlon,
but at the time, I'm sorry?
Have we ever met in person?
I don't know. Have we? Probably.
So. That wasn't a test. I'm almost as old as you, so my memory. I don't know why I'm asking you. Tellman, have Marlon and I ever met in person?
I remember.
Chat GPT.
This may have been the same seminar, but I remember. There's only
Florida. I think maybe it was in Florida.
Yeah, maybe at a big seminar. Maybe at one of Armin Morin's big seminar.
Yeah, I just remember.
I remember
it.
I remember you speaking, and you did the most hilarious price cut down. You did the chop it model, and you acted like you were swinging a giant axe, and you chopped the price in half like 17 times. And every time you yelled "chop it" louder, and you got the whole audience yelling "chop it," and like it just stuck. It really, I loved the degree that you were just going completely over the top. It was really, really, really
that
fun.
was over the top, but you know, Allie sold the daylights out of that place, and I didn't because she's so good at the pitch. But she had a very structured, very pre-prepared.
Yeah, I know yours. I know it didn't end up selling that well, but it was still so entertaining. It was so great. I just loved it. Yeah, it was really good.
So let me ask this, guys.
Yeah,
if
guys.
you're a newbie, what do we want to tell this guy? What like I told him.
Well, I think what gentleman said, your first list, right? That's a great place to start.
So
yeah, let me verbalize. Let me verbalize the entire actual question here. Okay. So, as a matter of fact, I think I might be able to even do something like this, and then something like this, and then something like, if you guys ask a question, I will give you a copy of my first list, original edition. I sold over 100,000 copies of this, guys. So, like, it's worth it, and it's timeless. So, this is actually from not me with a mask on, but it's from Matthew Aichi, perhaps. Hi, Harris. I'm in the U.S. and in the healthcare profession as a newbie into the world of marketing. I read a review regarding solos that mentioned your name as a guru marketer. I'm unsure as a beginner. Please, do you have tips for me on how to succeed and grow in the digital marketing space? Oh, and then, all right, well, I guess we can take off the part that Harris said.
I just said it was too broad. It's fine.
I said it was too broad. He said, and I guess my question is, what are some of the best ways, surefire proof ways to make millions in the marketing or digital marketing space?
Sorry, in his defense, I said there's a million ways to make millions. I didn't just say too broad. There's a million ways to make millions. He wasn't. He didn't just jump back with
cool.
Question.
Yeah. Cool. So, Harris, who should answer this first? Marlon?
Well, I mean, I think we feel like you've already answered it, and we want you to explain your. And I think we generally agree, which you're saying, hey, buddy, build a list and sell people stuff. Build a list, build a relationship with the people on the list, and sell people stuff at affiliate marketing probably at first, because you probably aren't. He probably doesn't have his own product yet,
right?
And that's it. And and I see a lot of people with. You can go into deeper detail on that, but I see a lot of people that are just getting started. They buy solo ads from me. They build a list to sell one thing. They were told by some marketing guru, like, here's the one way to make money. So they buy solos from me, and then they build a list, and all they do is sell this one thing. And sure, maybe they make some of their money back, but usually they don't make all of their money back. And the way to make all of your money back is to realize that you're the business owner, not this other guru, and you're building your own list. Maybe you're not going to use your name because you don't want to, but we use our names. So whatever, Matthew Ike, marketing, Matthew's marketing with Matthew.com or something like that. And you can be honest with them and say that you're learning and you're going to present to them, offers that you feel are good at teaching how to make money online, and you're gonna apply that. There's a lot of different angles to go and ways to build a list. Telman and I have a really big way to build a list that is super effective that we teach. But then there's also, just at the end of the day, set up a squeeze page, send some traffic to it.
Technically you're right, Harris, but I don't entirely agree with your perspective on this, I guess.
Great, that's fine.
And the reason is because the number one obstacle that I see that generally holds back new entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs who are trying to become entrepreneurs from actually succeeding and even going part-time and making, a few $1,000s a month or whatever, is this issue of imposter syndrome, and that people don't believe in themselves. Right. And if you're just trying to learn marketing and just trying to learn how to make money on the internet, and you don't know what you're doing, that you don't know what you're doing. And if you're trying to convince anyone online, like, no one else is going to believe you anyway, because you're full of crap. So my recommendation is that you only go into a market where you're really interested and ideally have like some experience, knowledge, and like you've been doing it for 10 or 20 years, and now you're building it into a business where you don't have to be an expert, but like I would suggest that there has to be demonstrated long-term commitment to the market that you're going into and the list that you're building a list around, or it's not going to last, because you're just not going to give it the energy that it needs to succeed, because you don't actually care.
I'll tell you an example of that real quick, Telman. I'll make it real quick because I interrupted you. But no, there was this guy on X, started out Twitter, then X. And he started out and he had 50 followers. And he started selling coaching on get your first 50 followers and getting people to opt in for something on it. And it worked because people with 0 followers wanted 50, and the guy that's got 30,000 followers, they can't identify with him. So then when he had 100, he's like, get your first 100 followers, coaching. Then he had 250, then he had 500. But now listen to this. And he grew very successful people, helping them get followers. But it's just what you just said. He gets the 20,000 followers, or 15 or 20,000. You know what he did? He goes, well, I don't want to be in the X growth business.
Right.
And he totally changes his business. Now he's got a list of people that want to grow their X, and he's doing something entirely freaking different.
Right.
Because of what you just said. So I don't think you have to have necessarily experience. You can teach people how to get your first 50 followers. But what you said, you got to have that long-term, that passion for that, to me, that interest or that desire. Otherwise, a year in, like this dude, you're going to be like, oh, no, I don't want to do that.
I'm bored. I don't like this anymore. So
right,
I've been making salsa and hot sauce for my entire life. Like since I was a kid. Like I'm Norwegian. I shouldn't even like hot peppers. And like I still like my first business was Telman Salsa. And all the guys in my men's group are constantly being like, you should stop all this marketing crap, Telman, and just make hot sauce and salsa because you do that anyway. And the reality is that like I kind of want to. And but I've been doing that since I was a kid. And so if you have the enthusiasm around a topic, again, you don't have to be the biggest expert. You become the biggest expert by building an audience and building a following and people believing that you're the expert. That's how you become the expert. But you can have experience and commitment to a market, to a group, to a tribe, to a topic, to a particular type of product. Coffee. It could be a commitment to coffee whatever. But like, you need to have that brimming internal enthusiasm or you're toast. You won't succeed no matter how hard you try, because it will be short-lived.
Well, it's like all three of us. Go ahead, Harris.
No, Marlon, we're here for you.
No, all three of us could do products on bald heads. Okay, right. The power of having bald head. All of us could do that. However, I don't think any of the three of us have a passion for it and would stick with the business.
Hey, I'm funny bald guy. I'm funny bald guy on Instagram. So don't. You never know. I do want to say something about the idea of you having did I have a passion for internet marketing when I did 12-week intensive? I probably did. Like I'd already had some business experience with email marketing. I had some success with like an MLM Liberty League that I was in. Like I broke even. That's a success in an MLM, guys. I didn't lose. I got my money back. I think. Sorta. And then
you're lucky you didn't make a lot, though. You're lucky you didn't make a lot, but go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. And then because then I'd still be in it trying to make that money back that I spent anyway. And then I had some other. That got me back into like, oh, how can I use internet marketing to get leads and whatever. And that got me into so I guess I did kind of have a passion for it, and then there's a lot of people like Matthew here who, he's got resale rights for he's got PLR rights from somebody for a product. And he's trying to make it. I don't know how passionate he is about learning it, but isn't that enough though? Like really, like isn't that enough for a year?
Like in my opinion, it's not anyone can succeed. I mean, there are all sorts of like exceptions to every single rule, right? You'll find them everywhere. And so like if you freaking don't give up, you're going to win. Okay? Like so if you go after it with everything you've got and you do not give up, then you're good. Okay? You're going to keep getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better. You're going to learn your skills and they might transfer over. Like I've started businesses in all sorts of different markets over the years. And like some of them lasted, some of them didn't. Some of them I lost enthusiasm. Some of them I thought better of it after I actually got into the business and realized what I didn't like about it, right? But like many businesses are born out of financial desperation, but I wouldn't recommend it. So a little desperation goes a long way, but a little desperation without any like focus or long-term commitment is just like, you're going to be just desperate jumping from thing to thing for the rest of your life and, and to be a neurotic mess. And so,
okay.
Like,
so let's just say this though. I get that point. I think we need to beat a dead horse. I get it. They need to be in a business that they want to commit to and not drop out after a year. That's kind of a given. Like if you drop out after a year, you ain't going to get very far in business because you had a year longevity. But let's say they're like, okay, I want to make a go of this. Tillman, Harris, I want to do it. I'm telling you right now, dog. I'm strong. I want to do this. I want to do, but what do I do?
Yeah.
What do you tell them? Step 1, step 2, step 3 to do?
Well, I mean, the surefire answer is do a virtual summit in your market with 12 of the biggest speakers who will promote that you can get to say yes. Like, I mean,
I'm going to be the newbie, but Tillman, I don't know no one to be no virtual summit.
Good. So if you're going to give up that easily, then take a hike.
I'm not going to give up, but tell me how I can.
Yeah. So step 1 is remember how we said you want to go into a market where you've been working on something for a long time. You have a long-standing passion and interest.
I have been. I'm just a newbie, though. I don't. They don't know me. I know them.
Well, who's being the newbie? You or Marlon? Both
of
us.
We're the same guy.
What's a topic? What's an area of interest? What's a hobby that you've had since you were a kid?
I don't know how to answer.
Oh, I know a common one between you two. Well, maybe you're
magic.
Both magicians. You're both magicians. How about magic as the example?
Okay.
All right.
So
okay.
Marlon and I are like, good luck.
Okay. Well, so step 1 is, have you do you know any magicians?
Well, now of course.
Yeah.
I know
great.
Harris.
Right. So step 1 is, if you really know no one, you get on everybody's email list that's a magician who has an email list, and you follow everybody who's a magician on social media, so you really get to know the magicians. If you don't know the magicians, that's step 1, right? Step 2 is buy as much of their stuff as you can, right? Like literally is buy as much as buy their books, buy their training, buy their courses, go to their shows, buy their cheese. I mean, whatever they're selling, is you get to know them. You get to know them over time. And then you invite them as one of the leading industry experts to the virtual summit that you're going to launch, where you're going to interview them all. You're going to do a virtual interview series.
I think you can shortcut that. Hold that thought. I think you can shortcut that.
Great, shortcut it.
Tillman, listen. I am putting on a virtual event for magicians, and listen to who else I'm inviting to this thing.
Yes.
But I'm even inviting David Copperfield. So listen,
right.
I just need to know, would you commit to being on our virtual summit if we can bring the fire, dog?
That's right. That does it. That's the magic RSVP letter. I fully agree with you, Marlon. But well said.
Right.
Is basically you put together a virtual summit, you invite everybody, and you let everybody know who you're inviting. Another really good piece to the puzzle on this is to list at least 50 of the biggest names, but only accept the first 12 that respond.
Yeah, and usually hundreds. Everybody says the top 100 list, but even 50 is enough. I think I probably only ended up listing 50, 55. This is when I didn't know anybody in internet marketing.
Right.
I just had the balls to reach out to people, and people responded. And
Okay, say how you were reaching out to me. What did you say to me? So I'm a big dog, and you were reaching out.
If I did reach out to you, it would have been that I'm surprised I didn't. I would think you were probably on the list, and maybe you didn't answer. I'm going to go look in my email now. But basically, the email outreach that I sent was really short. I wish I had it in front of me. It was 1 or 2 sentences. It was something like, I'm putting together a project where I'm interviewing the top marketers. Would you be interested? I mean, it was really, it was really short. And then if I got it wasn't enough for them to say yes or no to, they would respond, well, what is it? And then I would say, well, I'm interviewing, and it depends on when you responded to me. So it might say, hey, I've already got Yannick Silver and J. Conrad Levinson on board. I'm looking for 10 more people. And what we're going to do is every week we're going to interview them on a teleseminar. This was back in the teleseminar, but now we're going to interview you on a webinar, and then we're going to sell your, sell whatever you'd like us to sell at the end of the webinar, and I would take an affiliate commission. How's that sound, Marlon?
Great, let's do it. Rock it.
That's right.
So the 3 requirements are that you have to have you have to have something to sell that I can make a commission on, that you're willing to show up on the interview and give some good content. And then the other is that we're going to promote the virtual summit at the beginning of the virtual summit. I
think you got to tell people that you got to let people know you're not wasting their time, gentlemen. In other words, because at the time, Harris, I might not have responded because I got a lot of invites for all kinds of crap. It's up to you to convince me you're not wasting my time. So if I was a newbie and I would say, and listen, we got a 22-point promotion plan and we're going to promote the heck out of this thing.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
yes. Back when I did it, I didn't have to do that. But I agree with you now. Here's what we're going to do to promote this, and what we're asking of you. And so that it's so that you see that you're getting more value back than what we're asking from you.
Tell me, it's a 22-point promotion plan. I got 22 Facebook groups I'm going to spam it to.
That's right. That's really brilliant, Marlon. So good. So good. Good.
Okay, go on. Next step.
So next step is that all of your speakers, then a bunch of them respond. It is really good, Harris, as you mentioned. So I remember back in the day when I did List Crusade, I got I got all these people to say no because I approached all these C-listers and they said no, and then I got Jay Abraham on board. Thanks to Chris and Janet Atwood, and once Jay Abraham was on board, then it was cake, right? It was easy to get everybody else to say yes because. It's just because it got the headliner. And so if you have the ability to get a big fish to say yes early on, do it. Right.
Well, I think that's the focus. Look, we should probably wrap this up. It's an hour, but I'll tell you the secret of how I got J. Conrad Levinson.
How?
And J. Conrad Levinson he's gone now, but he was the creator of guerrilla marketing. This was a big deal 20 years ago. And there's still guerrilla marketing books out there.
It's huge. It's huge. Still huge.
So, and he had nothing to he didn't have much to do with internet marketing yet,
Right.
And so I went to his page and I saw this little thing at the bottom of his page, and it said that I could hire him as a consultant for $1,000. And I was like, oh, I have $1,500 left on my credit card. Let me see if he'll let me interview him instead of consult me for an hour. And I also said, and would you also promote this? I mean, this is the epitome of guerrilla marketing, Mr. Levinson. Would you promote this as well? Would you tell your list of however many members you have about this interview series that me and this other guy you've never heard on are putting on? He said yes. And he did it, and then I was able to leverage his name. So when Tillman says, if you have the ability to get a big name, guys, if you can't get in through the front door and can't get in through the side door like Tellman did with the Atwoods to get Jay Abraham, and whatever you do, make sure you have someone named Jay. So either Jay Abraham or Jay Conrad Levinson. It's part of the formula.
It's really
inside tip.
Or if you've got to pay them to be on it, and it's a big enough name, it's going to make a difference. So
you know, but people do this all the time in the seminar business, where you have a seminar that's often a pitch fest, but then like Joe Polish will happily pay Branson to show up and and be the speaker and be the celebrity.
The Shark Tank guys are at a lot of these marketing events. I'm sure they're not there selling something. They got paid 10 or 20 grand to be there.
Right. And so that's another way of doing
How do you get people to promote it? Okay, because I'm sorry, but virtual summits are famous for people agreeing to speak and they don't promote. How do you get them to promote?
So I think the first reason for that, in my observation, is a lack of forthrightness about the deal from the person who's putting on the summit. And I think that it should say in the invitation that one of the exactly what the promotional requirements are of the speakers. And everyone has their own way of coming up with criteria for this. And my criteria has changed over the years as the email marketing world has changed. But I generally focus on email as my primary promotional tool, and like depending on the size of the summit and everything else. But basically, I used to require 100,000 people on people's email list, and now it's kind of like require 25,000 people, because the lists are so much smaller now, and they need to be pruned in order to stay active and all this stuff. But I would say bare minimum 10,000 people on your list, and you have to be willing to promote 3 times. And if you really want to make it worth them wanting to promote, that means that you have to put the time, the effort, and the energy into not just creating an opt-in page, but creating a highly optimized, fully optimized sales funnel that converts like crazy and pays them exceptionally well as an affiliate when they promote it, so that they're getting paid just to promote the thing in the first place before their webinar even happens.
I think the sales funnel is a big part of that, because most people, they don't have something that converts, and so there's not much money. There's not a lot of incentive for you to mail it, because there's no, you need a little, something.
So when I did it, I didn't do that. I there was no, and I probably at first, Tellman, you probably didn't need to do that either, where you had to incentivize on.
When I started doing all of this, I didn't have the skills to do that.
Well, for me, it's not even the skills. It wasn't. So it is its own. Being interviewed, being on one of the weeks is its own reward, because we're going to sell a bunch of your stuff, and it's basically a group collaboration where, Marlon, you're promoting, and Yannick Silver's promoting, and Tellman's promoting, and all these big dogs are these other gurus are promoting, and so we get 1,000 people from each of your lists that are on the list. Now we have 12,000 people, and 10,000 of them didn't know you, and some of them are going to show up and they're going to learn about you and they're going to buy your thing. So it is its own reward. And yes, of course, 15 years later, everybody's jaded, and we also now need to get some, because I'm going to make money on the sales funnel now as well. So of course I'm going to share that with whoever's promoting it. But it's not actually necessary. It's not necessary for this to work. Even today, I don't believe that you have to make money on the front end.
Well, here's the other thing, though. Here's the other thing. Then this is where it gets interesting, I think, is that now we live in a world where there's more competition than ever in every market and every niche. There are more little guys in every market with smaller lists in every market and every niche. There are less mega marketers with 1 million people on their list, and there are more smaller people with smaller numbers of people on their list. And with that increased competition also means you have a bunch of smaller people who are hungry and they're looking for opportunities, and they haven't been in the game for 5 years, 10 years, or 15 years. They're in the last 5 years. And so if you're putting on a summit or creating any type of a collaborative event, you can intentionally work with some of the rising stars rather than the old guard, right? And that gives you the opportunity to not have as sophisticated a funnel because all those people aren't getting as many invitations, right?
Well, that's what I was going to bring up is exactly what you said, Tillman. When we started out, it was me, Declan Dunn, and Jonathan Mizell. Nobody really knew us that much. But the thing, and we also brought in a few other people, Teresita Debrio, a few other people that we met along the way. But we would do products together, promote each other, right? And that was just 3 of us. Like, let's say you start out, you can't get any big name, anybody with a big list. You just go out to a bunch of people at your level or a level above you, right?
Right.
But here's the thing. If all of you then pull your power together, you got 10 hungry dogs that are going to promote this. Then you can go to a bigger guy and go, listen, I got 10 hungry dogs going to promote the heck out of this thing.
Right.
We want you there.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great point because it can work in reverse as well. Or if you get that one hungry dog by bribing him, that can help you get the 10 hungry dogs. The one big,
True.
you know what I mean?
Hungry dogs.
Hungrydogs.com. You know what, guys? I literally started to type this as the description. Drinking game. Every time Marlon says dog, you have to take a drink. People be drunk right now. But let's wrap this up. It's been over an hour.
Yeah.
Let's tell people how they can get more. Like, by the way, we just taught more about the virtual summit system on one of these live streams than we have
period
in any of them so far. So hopefully AI will pick up on that and take some of these chunks and we can reuse it. But it's
a brilliant method. I mean, it's a brilliant method, and I hope Tillman really pushes that product and that concept out more because it's the one way for the little guy's revenge plan.
It's true. It's true.
It is.
Cool. Well, Marlon, this has been awesome. Guys, if you want, we have a virtual summit boot camp coming up where we're going to work with you over the course of 12 weeks to launch your first virtual summit. If you're interested in getting involved and you want to learn more, type boot camp into the comments of the platform that you're watching this on and send either Harris or I a direct message on that platform so that we make sure to see it because we're currently going out to 11 or 12 different locations right now. So if you're interested, pop it in the comments. And like Marlon, you have some of your people watching. So to reach out to us directly and we can chat about it more. If you want to get involved and actually build one of your own boot camps from scratch, we'd actually love to work with you to put it all together and make it happen here in the next 90 days. And Marlon, for people that are captivated, stunned, mesmerized, and amazed by everything that you do, like where can people go to check out more of your stuff and get on your list?
You can get on my list at marlonsanders.com and you can hear more at youtube.com/Marlon Sanders.
Boom.
Easy
Awesome.
peasy, dog.
Cool.
That was one, Harris. That was another one. You're right. Hey, but I want to leave with something not even my own. I want to leave with a couple little gems I always like to reward the people that stay on to the end. You know what I'm saying? I like to reward the hungry dogs. I like to reward because Les Brown said you got to be hungry. So I reward them. This book here is the best book ever written on the direct response marketing business, in my opinion. How to Generate Leads and Grow Your Business Now by Matthew Maverick. Now, this is about lead generation. It is by the guy who was the #1 marketer generating leads in a huge contest for IBM. Sensational book about all the basic principles of direct marketing. Those of you who love to write, this is a groundbreaking book by a guy who got 100 million views on his articles. Nicholas Cole, The Art and Business of Online Writing. He's going to show you how he got 100 million views just by writing articles and sometimes got paid for them. And then for those of you who are speakers and like to speak, it's a book nobody ever heard of, The A to Z Sales Presentation Method by Christian, Pippionnen. And he calls it the Blender Talk. He was breakfast and dinner talks. He did these in person and he did thousands of them, but you can also do them virtually. It's a heck of a way to generate leads. And then the final book is one that's one of my favorites. It's called Primal Branding by Patrick Hanlon. You're starting out and you're a hungry dog and you want to be respected. You put Primal Branding to work in your business and you're going to stand out above everybody else head and shoulders. Harris Tellman, it's a joy. We'll do this stuff again.
Awesome. Thank you, Marlon, for your time.
Thank you so much, Marlon. You're amazing.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Bye.
This is the Tellman and Fellman Show.
Goodbye.
Over and out.
I guess I'm supposed to. Thanks, everybody, for watching Tellman and Fellman. I'm going to get cut off anytime soon, but maybe I